OTAN, Outreach and Technical Assistance Network.
So today, my wonderful colleague Portia LaFerla and I are going to be talking about using AI to develop co-op instruction and assessment tools. Again, this is for beginners. If you've never used ChatGPT, if you have, this is probably not the right place for you because we're just beginners and we're just going to share what we did. So, you know, both Portia and I are on the EL Civics team at CASAS, and we wanted to try to make things easier for EL Civics. We realized that writing your instructional materials and writing your assessments is a burden these days when you perhaps don't have ESL coordinators at your school, or perhaps that might be having the time to do this for you. So we thought we could use ChatGPT to do it. And so that's, we went through and just made a few samples just to see how it would work. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then we're going to give you a chance. So I hope you have either your phones or your computer, because we're going to give you a chance to work with it too. And the website is just TDLS. Just look it up so that you're logged in, if you would, while we're talking here. Go ahead and go to the next slide, if you would, please. Thank you, Portia. So our goals today are to introduce the use of ChatGPT or to create EL Civics COAAP instruction and assessment materials, such as what you're asked to do in the COAAPs: agency-created histories, resumes, applications, scenarios, example writing tasks. So you're often asked to create those, or you're teaching how to write an email and you want to give a sample of what an email would be like. You need to write a scenario, and you could do it yourself, but wouldn't it be so nice to have a little bit of help to do it, so that it wouldn't take up so much time? So that's what we're going to show you today. Go ahead. Thank you. So we're going to start with 33.2 task 2. First of all, raise your hand if you work with EL Civics. If everybody, okay, great. If you don't, you can still use this for other things, but we're going to be talking specifically about EL Civics instructions, and all of our materials are EL Civics related. So hopefully you all understand 33.2 task 2. What does anybody remember? What topic this is?
Job skills.
What?
Job skills?
Job skills, employment. 33 is employment. Yes, and we're going to talk about task 2 in 33.2. So let's go ahead. So this is our task 2 in 32.2. The civic objective, again, for employment, the general civic objective: identify and access employment and training resources needed to obtain and keep a job. So that's everything about jobs is in 33. So 33.2 happens to have a task that says using a level appropriate agency created employment history. It's like, oh my goodness, we have to give the students an agency created employment history. Why? This didn't used to be in 2004. We didn't ask for this, but why are we asking for it now? Why do we ask the agency to use an agency created employment history? Why do you think?
We need to customize to the students' community and their needs.
Sure, that's one reason. Something else? We want to standardize it because we don't know whether our students are putting in, if they write about themselves, we don't know whether what they wrote is true or whether it has any validity. So it may be a little different in an employment history, but for other things especially, but for this also, we want to give a history that the student would read it and then pick out the information. So do we know who their references are? You know, is it just the friend? The employment history might say, my friend so-and-so suggested I take this job, but you know, the references, you know, maybe are different people. So we want them to be able to distinguish, you know, oh, this is who a good reference is, right? Because that's what we're teaching. Who's a good reference to put in a job application? So you might put a few distractors in the employment history that would cause the student to read carefully to make sure, oh, these are the people that should be the references, not that person who's just my friend that I met a month ago. Okay, so again, we're using this so that the student has to use their critical thinking skills and figure out what goes in each of the spaces, okay? Because otherwise they could just write 10 names. We don't know who they are or whether they'd be a good reference or not. Does that make sense? So this is where we've come to. Also, we may not want to have the student's social security number, or we don't want to have it. social security number, or other personal information. So this keeps it so that we're not, we don't have their address and phone number and all the things for themselves. In the classroom, if the student wants to do it for themselves and write their own, that's great, but we don't want to make that for a test, that they're giving their personal information. Remember, we have to keep a pass and a fail. So this would be in our records, their personal information would be in our records for years to come. So that's why we've done this, okay? Didn't mean to get off on that, but it's good to know. Okay, so this is what we want to do. So this is what we did. So let's go to the next slide. So I know what we were doing, just thought, okay, let's use ChatGPT, and we're gonna give you the link so that you can do it and everything. But so this is what I wrote the first time. Please write a paragraph at CEFR level 1, which tells the employment history of Juana Hernandez, I just made that up, who has been a home health care aide for the last 10 years in Torrance, California. She got her home health aide certificate at Torrance Adult School. She's worked for 3 different people. Please delineate the employment of the 3 employers' homes and give dates. Also include Juana's home address, education experience, and references. So I didn't want to have to come up with all this stuff. I came up with her name. I came up with Torrance Adult School. I came up with the fact that she's a healthcare worker, but I put all this in. And this will be interesting, the CEFR level. That's the Common European Framework reference, because I was told by a colleague that ChatGPT knows the Common European Framework. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to know the college and career readiness standards or the English language proficiency standards. We wish it did. And I'm sort of wondering if I just sort of copied it into ChatGPT, if it would know it, but I don't know how to do that. So if you know, that'd be great. But right now, we're using the Common European Framework. This is the link to it, and we'll get you the slides. So anyway, so this is what I told it to do. Let's see what it did. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Yeah, I'm trying to study. There we go. There we go.
Oh, sorry, I have just a slide. This is, so when you get the slides, the Common European Framework is here. It looks similar to our 6 levels of college and career readiness standards, right? A1 is can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at satisfaction of needs of concrete type, can introduce him or herself and others and ask and answer questions about personal details such as where she lives, can interact in a simple way provided the other person talks slowly and clearly and prepared to help. I think that sounds like beginning high to me, really. It's not as low, I think, as our English language proficiency standards are, but it's close. Anyways, I started there because I thought that's all I have to start with. And again, you'll have this in the slides. So this was the first response, and I'm gonna read it, sorry, because I know it might be hard for you to read. So Juana Hernandez is a home health care aide in Torrance, California. She's been working in this role for the last few years, providing compassionate care to those in need. That's all ChatGPT. Isn't that lovely that they can, I wouldn't have written that, but ChatGPT came up with that. Juana earned her home health care aide certificate from Torrance Adult School, showcasing her commitment to professional development. Over the course of her career, she's worked with 3 different individuals, bringing her expertise to various homes. Unfortunately, specific dates, addresses, and references cannot be provided as these details are typically considered private information. However, Juana's dedication to her work and her educational background make her a valuable asset in the home health care field. So look how much extra language I got here that I would have liked to have written had I done it. But it didn't give me what I wanted, which I didn't want to have to make up the names, addresses, and the references and all and the dates and everything. But ChatGPT told me, oh, they don't do that because they don't want to use personal information is what I've heard. So, okay.
Lauren,
So, yes.
a couple questions regarding links and the slides. Regarding links and the slides.
Yeah, so we'll be giving that, okay? And we've got links throughout, okay? So
Does it help for me to drop the PowerPoint again in the chat?
yes,
Great.
so drop it in the chat for those of you who are on Zoom. If you, a lot of you have computers, if you could go to TDLS and we drop the slides in the chat. If you can go on there and get them, that'd be great.
Make sure you're muted, your audio's off.
Okay, thank you. Make sure you're muted and your audio is off. Okay, great. So would you use this for a beginning level student? As an agency creative history? It may not have enough information, but just the language level, what do you think?
Too high.
Too high, too high. So, okay, great. So can we go on?
Can.
So then I said to ChatGPT,
Go
what's
back,
second,
sorry.
I want second prompt. Second prompt, there we go. So then I had to write my own dates, which I was unhappy about, but I had to. So I said, please include the following work history information. So I gave it dates. And I gave some extra information. Juana always came on time and worked hard. She was a great companion. I added some other details if I thought they could add that in. So that's how I changed my second prompt. And let's see what we got. So then it gave me Juana's work history includes serving as a caregiver for 3 different individuals, and then it listed it. Again, I didn't give them this sentence, this entry sentence here, but it's a great sentence. And then it added the work history that I gave it. But still, is this good for a beginning low student or
No.
any kind of beginning student? Maybe even for an intermediate student, too high. So let's go ahead to the next one. So then I said, please use only vocabulary and grammar that could be understood by CEFR level 1 students. So even though I had said CEFR 1, I didn't think it picked up on that somehow. So I tried to make it, I tried to do that again. And the prompt, only vocabulary and grammar that could be understood. I hope that would lower the level. Let's see what happened. So then here we go. Juana Hernandez helps people at home in Torrance, California. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, and then at the end, then there's all the work history, et cetera. She learned about taking care of people at Torrance Adult School. Better. So we're getting closer now. So that prompt really helped. Vocabulary and grammar that only so-and-so could understand. That helped a lot. And a lot of the inner things too. She learned to care for others at Torrance Adult School. She worked for 3 different people. She helped John Smith. He liked her a lot and said she worked very well. I didn't say he liked her a lot, I don't think, but they added that. I love the way it just makes stuff up, and that's really great. Okay. So now I thought, okay, this is pretty good, still high level, but it's pretty good. I just want to see what happens. So now, and I think this is where it can help you as curriculum developers and assessment writers and instructional writers. So now I want to have an example, but then I need to have the test as well, right? So I asked it now to change the information to be about a different person. So my example that I'm teaching from is one thing, but then I have to have a different thing for the actual assessment, right? So, but rather than start from the beginning, I just asked it to change the information to Hong Hun and where she got her different information. And then I had to put in the different employer dates and everything so that it would be a similar paragraph, but it would be about a different person. Okay, so example and then assessment. Let's see what happened. This is it. So Hung Hun is a caring home healthcare worker in Torrance, California. Similar, she's a good worker who learned how to help people at San Diego Community College District. And then there's differences in between. But so that's, I think, a really great thing that you can just put in other information and you get similar but different things. To have a different example.
There's a
Any
question,
questions? Yeah.
question in the chat, Lori. Did you try SURF A1, A2, B1, or et cetera?
I don't know what that means. I'm so sorry.
Separate.
The CEFR.
That-
Did I try using the other levels?
Yes.
I did not, because I wanted it to be low and I started with level 1.
I think
So
what the user means is that there's no such thing as CFR level 1, there's A1, there's B1, there's C1.
Okay,
So if you put A1 as opposed to just 1, would that have,
okay. Would that have changed it? And I didn't
Changed
do
it.
that because I didn't, that's a great thing I should have done, but I didn't do it.
We can do that in our practice.
We can do it in our practice.
this is European.
Okay, let's go ahead. Thank you for that suggestion. So remember, that's what you should use, A1, et cetera.
Or even pre-A1,
Pre-A1, that's
to
a
get
good
literacy
one.
and beginning.
Okay, good. Again, we're all learning this together, hopefully. So then I said, thank you for your help. And then I thought this was hysterical. You're welcome. If you have any more questions, if there's anything else I can help you with, feel free to ask. Good luck with your writing. So it pretends, well, I should say that. It is a helpful assistant. and treats you as if it's a conscious being. So I thought that was interesting. My friend who uses it has a whole relationship with her AI. Okay, let's go on. Okay, now, Portia's gonna tell you about a different one we did for 12.9 task 5.
Lori, sure.
So, in EL Civics, there are different kinds of tasks. And so we're gonna look at a different kind of task and how we might use AI to do that. And we're going to look at 12.9 task 5, and unfortunately, I do not have Lori's recall to tell you exactly what that is.
Here you go.
And thank you. So it's about describing and accessing the services offered by the DMV. And if you were teaching this one, the students would need to write a letter, a persuasive letter about following safe driving laws. So if you're going to be teaching that, it's good to have some examples, so some sample letters about the task. And so what we did is we fed AI pretty much the same language that you see here in yellow. The student will write an article, email, or letter, trying to convince a friend or family member that they should follow safe driving laws. And they give different examples we could choose from: seatbelts, child safety seats, cell phones. We happen to choose seatbelts. So we pretty much copied that information and we plugged it in. Go ahead, Lori. And asked at the CEFR level 2, maybe we should have said B2, right, or something like that, but we just said CEFR level 2, that they could understand the vocabulary and the grammar. We asked it for to convince a friend, so it's that persuasive letter, and cite 2 reasons, because at the intermediate level, that's what the COAAP assessment says. For intermediate, they have to cite 2 examples. So we did not give it 2 reasons, but if you were the teacher, you would know what reasons you were teaching, and you might want to plug those into the AI, although we did not do that. Go ahead, Lori. So this is a letter that came up, and again, I'll read it because it's kind of small, otherwise I would not. Dear friend's name, I hope this letter finds you well. I've been thinking about something important that I want to share with you. It's about the safety laws here in California, especially regarding the use of seatbelts while driving. Okay, you set it up. Firstly, using seatbelts is crucial because they can save lives. In case of an accident, a seatbelt keeps you securely in your seat, preventing you from being thrown out of the car. Well, that's a good reason. It's like having a reliable guardian that ensures you stay protected, reducing the risk of serious injuries. Go ahead, Lauren. And secondly, wearing seatbelts is the law. Following it helps us contribute to a safer community. The rules are there to protect us and those around us. By using seatbelts, we not only safeguard ourselves, but also show responsibility and consideration for others. Someone who loves flowery language. I understand that sometimes it might feel inconvenient or unnecessary, but it's a small effort that can make a big difference. Let's make a pact to always buckle up when we're in the car. It's a simple act that can have significant impact on our safety and the well-being of everyone on the road. Take care and stay safe. So, what do you think of that letter?
What level is that?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What level is that?
Well, we asked for CEFR level 2, which would be, we're looking kind of for an intermediate high, maybe. You think an intermediate high student could read that, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad, right? It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's a good starting place, right? There's probably words that I would change in there, maybe some phrases that I would change. But it's certainly easier than starting with a blank canvas. It's it's something you can use and edit as opposed to having to start from 0. Okay, go ahead, Lori. So then we wanted to move it down a level, so we asked it to change it to use vocabulary and grammar at the CEFR level 1. And this is what we got. Dear friend, I hope you're doing well. I want to talk about something important, using seatbelts when we're in the car. It's a rule in California and super important for our safety. First, seatbelts keep us safe. If there's an accident, they stop us from getting hurt. It's like a superhero, but make sure we stay in our seats and don't get hurt too much. They changed it up a bit, made it simpler, changed it up a bit. Second, we have to use seatbelts because it's the law. The law is like a set of rules to keep us safe. When we wear seatbelts, we're doing the right thing and helping everyone stay safe on the road. I know it might feel a bit annoying, but it's a small thing we can do to stay safe. Let's promise to always wear our seatbelts when we're in the car. It's an easy way to make sure we're okay. So if you look at that, what do you think about it? What do you think about the level? You think it's something an intermediate low student could read? You think?
Borderline.
Borderline?
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas about how you might edit a letter like that?
change some of the vocabulary to make it simpler.
And shorter sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, make shorter sentences, change some of the vocabulary. So we went back in again, to make it even lower. And this time we said, change the letter to utilize, vocabulary grammar that literacy levels below CFR 1 could use. And change it to only 3 paragraphs with simple sentences and no clauses. And this is what we got. Hi, I hope you're good. Let's talk about something super important. Wearing seatbelts when we're in the car, it keeps us safe. Like strong belt that stops us from flying. We have to wear seatbelts because it's the law, a big rule to keep everyone safe. When we wear seatbelts, we're doing what we're supposed to. I know it might feel a bit funny, but it's an easy thing to do to keep us safe. Let's promise to always wear our seatbelts when we're in the car. It's a simple way to make sure we're okay. And as always, take care and stay safe.
European students are higher level than ours.
Yeah,
That's still way too difficult for a beginning level student, yeah,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
But
And so-
again, in using that,
Yeah.
you know, you got it lower, so you could use this for an intermediate
Right.
student or whatever
Right.
level you thought it was for.
Yeah, and I have a friend who uses ChatGPT all the time to do lessons, and he just says things like, take it down a level, take it down a level. And he just keeps saying that till he gets it where he wants it.
Simplify.
Simplify, you know, smaller words, shorter sentences. But it's not hard to do because when you put the prompt in, within seconds, you get the result and you like it, you keep it. You don't like it, you just keep asking it questions. So it's kind of fun. Okay, go ahead, Lori. And so, you know, for example, you could edit this by taking out some of the extra words, taking out the clauses, some of those transition words, shortening the sentences. But again, you're not starting from a blank canvas, you've got something to go on. You know, when you write stuff, it's always your voice. It gives it a different voice, something that maybe you wouldn't have come up with that language, but it would be good for the students because they get used to how you talk and your vocabulary and what you write. So it changes it up for them too. I think that's the last one, Lauren.
Okay, so
Okay,
now,
good practice.
thank you so much, great job. So now we want to go into a practice. Do you want to?
I'll type.
Okay, that's type, sure, if that works for you, that's great. So first, before we do that, we want, and I know this is probably hard to see, and hopefully you have it on your screen, but this is from, and I guess we can't see it down here, but it's from Susan Gears, thank you, Susan Gears. She did a lunch with Lair thing in, I think it was December, there we go. The New Frontier Using ChatGPT for Teacher Lesson Support, and we have those resources for you. You should definitely go and watch those Lunch with Lyric, 2 presentations, I think. The other one is Christy Ray's, I can't remember, it'll be in the last slide. But here we have Susan Gare, who's spectacular with AI and those other things, December 23. So this came from her. So she said, when you're building a prompt, because this is the most important thing that you have to do, is to build an appropriate prompt so that you get what you want as sooner than we got it, okay? Because we just started from the air, we didn't know what we were doing. But if you use some of these things, that might help you. We're gonna do this together, so think about it. So for example, if you're talking about the task, build me a reading lesson on the overuse of plastics, give me a step-by-step process, build, generate, write. So she's saying to be very specific, ask for a step-by-step process if that's what you want. The more specific you are, the better result you'll get. The context, community college level, we meet 2 times a week for a 50-minute period. This is a reading class. I never would have thought to say that, but she thinks that's helpful to her. She's got CFR level and she used the A1, so yes, so we didn't know that at the time, so A1, A2, look at the list I put in the earlier slide and see, or as our colleague here said, pre-A1, for example, maybe that helps. The persona, I'm an ESL teacher who wants to read about the overuse of plastics. I want a reading that will develop critical thinking skills. I think that's important. Use bullet points, you know, if you want that, which again, for our learners, bullet points is going to help them pinpoint the information that's important, right? So if you want your example to do that, tell it to do it in a paragraph, write a quiz, multiple choice questions, all the things. You need to tell it exactly what to do and it'll do it for you. Is it formal, informal, or academic? include an example lesson reference for a framework. So she's not only getting the sample here, but then the instructions on how to teach it. So it's just unbelievable what's in there and what you can get out of it. So let's think about these as we do an example. We're gonna do the first one together, and then we're gonna put you in pairs or small groups to do one yourself. So, let us go to the next slide.
I see that doesn't move. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so it says, at the group, we will create a prompt for the creation of the scenario on the next slide and enter it. We'll revise the prompt as necessary until ChatGPT has created an appropriate scenario. So we're gonna do this together. And so Portia's gonna be our first, and you need to sign into ChatGPT. Can you take a look? Okay, so here's how you access it. You can just Google ChatGPT and it'll come up, but the actual link is chat.openai.com.
And then Laura, I'll sign in after we do the next slide because.
Okay.
We can't. Look at the
That's
same
right.
time.
Or do you wanna do it on my computer? Oh, no, we wanna see it, sorry,
We wanna see it here,
thank
yeah.
you. Too many computers. Okay, so you don't need to do that yet, but you're gonna do that when you practice it yourself, so that's good. So we're gonna do one together, so you can type it in if you want, but we're gonna type it in here and you'll see what we get, okay? And then the next one, you'll use your own computer to do that. Okay,
Laura, I
so-
think if we develop the question we're going to ask before opening AI,
okay,
because this is gonna disappear.
okay, so let's talk about, so where are we gonna write it though? Can we maybe
What
put
if
it
I
in the
open a Word
chat?
document,
Okay, that's good, but let's,
but yeah.
can you put it on, can you put
I
two
wanna-
screens
Let me see if I can,
and share two things? That's possible.
get this.
See how incredibly wonderful.
There's a question in the chat,
Sure,
if
go
I can
ahead.
roll it back. Once you're happy with the scenario, writing a prompt, what's the process of downloading, editing, and printing it?
Just copy and paste. You just go in there with your cursor, copy and paste it to wherever you want it, into a Word document, into a Google Doc.
Yeah.
That's all, it's
I can
right,
do
it's
it.
right there for you. Okay, so can we do it, yeah?
Let me see if I can do it.
One last question,
Yeah.
is there a resource that translates the CEFR to NRS levels?
So that we haven't found yet. Does anybody know that? So it's a good question for Susan Gear perhaps, but I'm assuming she would have said that in her presentation if she knew that.
You might,
Anthony?
I mean, just off the top of my head, I mean, you might just ask ChatGPT to do a sort of a
Right.
crosswalk analysis of,
Right.
the levels and see what it says.
So
It
I'm
does
gonna,
seem to recognize things like beginning low ESL though, you could just
Yeah.
state that.
I mean,
What
NRS
if you
levels
used-
have been around for a while.
Yeah.
What if you use the grade level equivalent instead of NRS levels? So,
but we don't use grade levels in adult education. We wanna do.
but there's correlations though, aren't there, the correlations?
So it'd be good to put in the ELPS levels or the NRS levels, and they're fairly similar, I mean, but yes, ChatGPT will give you a correlation, so when I get a chance, I'll type those in and do that, if I do it, I will bring it up at one of the Yale Civics Network meetings.
I think if we all ask that question, AI will teach itself.
I'm hoping it will teach itself, but it hasn't yet. Anyways, so thank you.
I'm just
This
gonna
is
type in
great.
this little bit
Perfect.
up there.
So so this is 11 point, what is it? Can you just show me? 11, it's a culture one.
12.
So this is what it says, write an article comparing cultures. So we want to give a sample article to our students before they have to write their own article, right? So this is the task, write an article comparing cultures. The student will write a brief account of his or her own or another cultural background. Number one, describe at least 2 similarities and 2 differences between his or her own country's culture or other country's culture and USL culture. So the sample content, paragraph 1 is a brief account of education, home, and family life in the student's native country and immigration in the US. Immigration to the US, forgive me. Paragraph 2, how the student's life in the native country is the same or different from life in the US, referencing 2 of the following topics. And those are what they are. So what country would we like our example student to be from?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, okay, so we're gonna have Afghanistan. And what do you think, can you start the prompt? What would you say if this is what you want? You want 2 paragraphs, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, what would we say?
Build
You are
me a-
an ESL student.
I'm sorry?
I tell ChatGPT, I give them the role. So
Okay.
you are an ESL student from,
You are an ESL student from Afghanistan. Okay, period.
you could probably add a clarifying, like,
Okay,
You don't tell the level, you don't describe the level.
yeah, I'd probably add a level
Okay.
at the beginning.
okay, so what do we want to say for the level? So why don't we use the CEFR? So that's the lowest one. We talked about pre-A1,
I just learned their CFR 0.
0, okay. So let's do, you want to do
Yes.
CEFR
Try
0?
and see what happens.
At the CEFR 0 level ESL student. Okay, what am I gonna say now?
Please write a brief.
Can't
I
see.
can't say, I can't, a brief paragraph about my cultural background.
My cultural background. And yes, and what else do we want to say?
And describe 2 similarities and 2
Okay,
differences.
before we get to the
Oh.
second paragraph, let's start with the first one.
Clearly.
In the first paragraph,
Oh, like, tell us about education, home and family life.
okay, good. In the
Please
first
tell
paragraph,
us about that.
okay. And what do we want to say about immigration to the US? And how I immigrated to the US? Wonderful. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. You're a CEFR level 0 student from Afghanistan. Write a short paragraph about so it says my and your, I think we need to probably change that. How about your? Okay, good. Your background, your cultural background. In the first paragraph, tell about education and family life. Do we want to say home? I think the home, I think we got it. We're probably.
We said to write a short paragraph, and then we said in the first paragraph, do you want to just say a short,
Okay, so
so say
then,
write a short?
write a short first, how about a short first paragraph, you could say, a short first paragraph about. Okay,
It does not know what CFER level 0 is, because
it doesn't know that?
Well, we're gonna find
Okay, well,
out
what-
what these things out when we.
I just tried
plug
it in
in.
Gemini and it knew.
Okay,
but-
well, let's try it. If it doesn't, we'll just keep hitting lower. Okay, write a short first paragraph about your cultural background. Why don't we say including education and family life? Just to have, put the number 2 things there. Okay, and then, is that gonna be okay for this? Brief, short paragraph in that level. And now let's talk about this. Paragraph 2, how students' life in the native country is the same or different from the US, referencing 2 of the following topics. So what would we tell it?
work,
Paragraph 2, what do we want it to do?
work and employment, and raising children.
We want it
Okay,
to
so
do-
in paragraph 2, we better say brief again, I would think. Write briefly about,
2 similarities or differences.
okay, about 2 similarities and differences from Afghanistan and the US.
You want 2 similarities and 2 differences?
Okay, write 2 similarities and 2 differences between the US and Afghanistan in, what did you say the areas were? Sorry.
Work, employment,
Work, or just, let's use one word, in work. And did you say raising children? And raising children. Okay, so let's see if we can make that, our prompt bigger. Now can we cover the whole screen and just make that whole thing bigger? Thank you. Okay, great. So why don't we, can we bring it to, there we go.
And then you take
Perfect,
that
okay.
and put it into the chat thing.
Okay, so what do you think? Now, I think you can see
Good
that.
starting place?
Mm-hmm.
What we got?
Okay, so we're gonna copy and paste it into ChatGPT. So now we're gonna go to ChatGPT. Hopefully we can. Again, this is just our idea, and we can fix it if it's not right. Come on, Lisa, yeah.
Are
Can I help you
using
today?
the
Can you see
free
it?
version or the?
We're using the free version,
Free version.
which is accessible to everyone, and then you can pay, I
Or
think,
so
is
we're
it
still seeing the
$40
Word
a
doc?
month?
I think it's $20.
$20 a month if you wanna pay for it. And what do you get for paying for it, do you know?
You get extra extensions or something like that. It processes data a lot easier or something.
So if you're using it a lot, it might be worth it to do it, but I found that the free version of it, so this is how it looks, it's a little bit weird. Because it has all this other stuff, but then at the very bottom, it has this open area, I mean, we didn't get to see it, and that's where you put your prompt.
I think it said, how can I help you?
How can I help you at the bottom? Okay, but there's all this other stuff, you know, that it's sort of hard to find at first, but you just put your prompt in there, so let's.
So I just cut and pasted it in. Let's see what it does.
Okay. And
It
immediately.
took about 5 seconds, right?
Immediately comes up, hasn't, okay,
So. And that's level 0, you probably couldn't read the level, right?
yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna, but so, you know, it gave us something. I come from Afghanistan, a country rich in history and tradition. It has so much information, it doesn't know how to cut it down.
It's very chatty.
In my family, education is highly valued, and my parents have always emphasized the importance of learning and knowledge. Despite the challenges we face, my parents have worked hard to provide me with opportunities for education. Family is central to our culture, and we have a close-knit bond with extended relatives, often gathering for meals and celebrations. Respect for elders is ingrained in our upbringing, and we learn to cherish our traditions and customs. So it's too high, our friend says, but what's good about it?
Very explicit.
Very explicit. Did you know these things about Afghanistan necessarily? You may or may not if you've traveled there or you have information about it, but great thing is you can choose a culture that you may not know about and you get all the information. Hopefully it's true. Now you can't always be sure. So if you have an Afghani student, you might check it with them if you're going to use this example, if you don't know if it's true, right? Because it may or may not be true. I'm sure you all heard about the lawyer who had ChatGPT write its brief, and all of the citations were not real cases. Well, guess what? In a law document, they have to be real, right? Because if people are going fine, that's where the law is located. So this person just thought it was good, sent it in, and then had a big problem. Basically malpractice because he hadn't written it himself and he didn't check the citation. So good idea to check it out before you let your students know. Yes.
Okay, so, I was kind of curious to see what would come back, because we didn't specify if the student is a male or a female, for example. And so that sentence, you know, education is highly valued in my country, which is beautiful. The reality though may not be the same, depending on whether you're a male or a female in Afghanistan,
That's true.
especially in the current political climate. So, yeah, I think
Would
to
you
your
like to see a
point.
woman's point of view?
Yeah, right, I mean, so maybe that's for further prompting, right? So, but to your point, right, in this case, I would say the language is very flowery and, yeah, I mean, we also value education in the United States, I think, as well, and yet, you know, the reality for people is very different depending on. who you
Okay,
ask,
so what did you write?
I said, rewrite the letter from a female point of view.
Right.
Okay, so let's see what it says. Despite the challenges we face, my parents have worked hard to provide me with opportunities for education. It really didn't address that.
Right.
It does discuss down here that societal norms may limit a woman's participation in certain fields, including education.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, so
yes.
we're getting at it.
Just for funsies, I put a similar chat in Gemini, so Gemini is the Google version of this. And I put pre-level A1. And it actually wrote it, this is what it wrote: long trip, very tired, new place, many people, missed family. So it actually, and then there's a few other,
Wow.
but it wrote it as if it were an pre-A1 level, you know what I mean? Like not for the student, but as if it were the student, like,
Wow,
you know, very, you know, 2-word sentences. Interesting.
very interesting. So can you give us the link for the Google version?
It's gemini.google.com.
Let's put that in the chat. So that's something, and is that a free service?
Yes,
Okay, so this is the
I
company.
learned about it 24 hours ago.
Okay.
Gemini.google.com, it was barred,
It was barred.
it was barred, yeah, they changed the name.
Yeah, your district may block it, like,
Did I?
because it's not part of the, if you're a Google district, it's not part of the core, so. You might,
So it's not.
if you get blocked on your work account or device, you might have to try it.
Okay, okay, good.
Can I say something more?
Yes.
I kind of don't mind that sometimes you get a level that you don't want, because when you're doing EL Civics, a lot of times you need a different example for different levels. So if the example you get is too low, you ask it to bring it up. If the
Right.
example you get is too high, you ask them to bring it down. So when you're doing it with ChatGPT, I don't know about Gemini, you just get this long, continuous scroll of everything that you did. So stuff doesn't go away. So I still have the previous.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool because we could just make it simpler. And then it simplifies it to like level 5. If this was level 5, it would go to level 4.
Right.
And then we wrote, make it even more simpler. Or, right, and then it went to level 3, and then we just kept doing it till it got to the level 1 that we wanted.
So let's do this one. Also, we need 2 paragraphs. So, so can you say, do this in 2 paragraphs and, make it much simpler in vocabulary and grammar? See what that does. Whoa. So that's cut, I mean, it was 500 words, now it's 100 words. for
Some things are
example.
super important.
It
Don't like that
really
word
went
super.
crazy. I'm from Afghanistan where family and school are super important. They loves to use super, I have to say.
Not super.
My mom and dad always tell me how learning is key to success. We are really close to our relatives and enjoy spending time together. Both Afghanistan and the US think working hard is essential, but in the US, women can work more easily. When it comes to raising kids, both places care a lot about education. In Afghanistan, grandparents often help with childcare, while in the US, parents usually do it alone. Wow, I mean, that really made a big difference. And is this something you might use in your classroom?
Absolutely.
At what level do you think you would use it for?
Maybe a little intermediate or intermediate 5.
Intermediate high. So we want to look at the standards to see, I think, well, it's got some pretty big vocabulary words in this, it's essential. Maybe you could change that to important if you didn't feel like it. So I think it could be lower depending on, the sentence length and the clauses, et cetera. If we change a few vocabulary words. But anyway, that would be up to you to decide what your students can deal with and the English language proficiency standards and common, college and career rating standards, which we use. Great. Okay, yes, Anthony.
Okay, so I just had an idea.
Yeah.
So this is what TDLS is all about. I just have an idea. Okay, so you're probably not starting your semester or term with EL Civics, right? I mean, you're kind of working at the civics, right? That's typically how it goes. So I wonder if you might pull some student samples and use that as your level, right? Because then it'll write it sort of, you would say, can you write a sample paragraph, sort of at the level of these other writings? And then that way, maybe you'll get something close to what's going on, at the level that you're teaching in your classroom.
That's very interesting. Or something that's in your textbook, match the level of this textbook, because we assume that a textbook you're using, you chose it at the level of your students, or that, again, we want it to be challenging to the students. We always want it to be +1, right? That they're learning something from it, so. good.
I think
But good idea.
also in this prompt, we could have said, use short sentences, use simple vocabulary. And again, if you add more detail to what you want, then it would have given us something much shorter and simpler as well.
But the main thing to show you is that, look how quickly and easily you can get what you ask it to do, okay? So let's let you practice doing this. So we're gonna go back to our slides. Thank you, Portia. Okay, and there we go. Share. Oh, yeah. And we're gonna want you to work at least with a partner, so I'll let you deal with that, but create a prompt for the creation of an example email and enter it. Do we have the task after that? I can't remember. Revise your prompt as necessary until ChatGPT has created an appropriate scenario or example. So we're gonna do exactly what we just did. Do we have the next slide that has something on it? There we go. Here's the task that, and we'll leave this up for you. You at home, just go to ChatGPT or Gemini and do the same thing, please. You won't have a partner, but you'll hopefully do it by yourself. Write a prompt for ChatGPT to write a scenario or example email with the criteria below. So here's the criteria. Write an email, given an agency provided scenario. That's what we want, or the email itself that describes an issue, problem, or concern. Student will write a level appropriate email using appropriate style, tone, register, and format. So you can either ask it to write the scenario from which the student would write the email, or you can ask it to write the email itself, which would be a sample. Okay, so you've got either one of the possibilities. Here are the elements. Introduce the self and topic, construct a claim, provide sufficient reasons or facts to support the claim, suggest a solution, provide a concluding statement. Do we have a topic here? 48.1.
An issue, problem, or concern.
An issue, problem, or concern. So let's brainstorm a little bit, what some issues, problems, or concerns. That would be 48 is digital literacy. So are there any problems or concerns about, you could ask it about ChatGPT if you want to. What's an issue, problem, or concern? I don't think it has to be related to digital literacy because it's just, you know, here's a problem and we're asking the student to write an email that it's probably intermediate high. And they're asking them to say a problem.
Elementary and the adult school schedule.
Okay, elementary and adult school schedule is a problem because it doesn't match.
Right.
So they have a vacation at different times, for example, okay? That would be a possible. Any other ideas about a problem one of our students might have that they need to write to the superintendent or to their teacher about?
Classmate is posting unkind things about them on social media.
Okay, great. A classmate is posting unkind things. Let's have one more example of a problem or concern of our students. How about parking? There's no parking at school. I want to come to adult school, but there's no parking here. What can I do? Is that enough? Feel free to come up with your own problem or concern of a student. Identify, you're writing an email to the principal of the adult school, the paper, you know, to say it's a community problem. Construct a claim, provide sufficient reasons or facts to support the claim, suggest a solution. So if you give it a topic and tell it to do these things, it probably will come up with that plan itself. Here we go. Write an email using ESL pre-literacy level, asking about a health concern, include short self-introduction, 2 common symptoms, ask for doctor's suggestions and provide a concluding statement. So can you go, now it's up above that, there you go. Here's her letter. So it's an email, right? Subject, asking doctor about health concern. Dear doctor, my name is, and I'm writing to you because I have a health concern. I hope you can help me. I've been feeling very tired lately. And also I have a headache. Sometimes I feel a little dizzy too. Could you please give me some suggestions or what I can do to feel better? I would really appreciate your advice. Thank you for your time and help. Yeah. So that's an example, okay? It's not exactly pre-literacy, I think you wrote, but again, we can fix that part. Someone else put a prompt and your work into the chat? Or if not, can you do that?
I'm still writing it.
Okay, but you get the idea. So it's not exact, so that was is this a different one?
Yep.
Write an email, maybe someone from home. Thank you, someone at home. Elaine Boyle, L Boyle, sorry. Write an email at level CEFR A1 to complain about not having enough parking spaces at the school. Great. I'm writing to tell you about a problem at our school. We do not have enough parking spaces. This makes it difficult for students and teachers to park their cars. Here are some reasons why this is a problem. It's hard to find a parking spot when I arrive at school. Some students have to park far away from school and walk a long distance. Sometimes there is no space left and students are late for class. I hope we can find a solution to this problem. So that followed the prompt. Thank you so much, Elle. That's a great one. Very simple prompt and a fairly good answer. Again, you can adjust the grammar as needed. You could just do it or you could ask ChatGPT.
One of the objectives was set the tone, so we wrote, make the email even more negative, and then it did that.
Oh, cool, and it did it for you, make it more negative, so great.
Very helpful.
Okay, great, let me go back to your slides, so.
That's pretty.
Well, great, thank you so much for going through this exploration with us. Again, we're just novices and we appreciate your ideas. We definitely suggest that you go to our resources. Can you, go to there? Okay, well, first helpful hints, because Portia's friend gave us these helpful hints. Keep a record of your prompts, so if you could look back in ChatGPT to find, I think it always stays there, but not be a bad idea to make a Google Doc with your prompts, because that'll help you the next time you need something. Here's some suggested content. Again, we had Susan Gare's list, but this is also someone else's idea. Request the level, bring the level down, bring the level up, request the length of the finished product. Again, explain briefly in 4 sentences, or I want short sentences. Give the prompt a voice. I'm an English teacher. I'm teaching an intermediate ESL class. I never would have thought to do that, so that's interesting. And then ask AI, what prompts do I need if I want to repeat this activity? So not only can you ask GPT for the product, but you can ask ChatGPT for the prompt itself. So that's really interesting. I haven't tried that. Let's go on to the next slide. So we just want to show you our resources again. This came from, there's a prompt library, and I gave you the link to it here. So it gives you some example prompts. They might be too high level, but they give you an idea of what the content of a prompt could be. And it's very extensive, this prompt library. And this happens to be writing email. There's a lot of different topics you can look at. So you might want to look around there. The next slide. And then we gave you these 2 Lunch with Lyric presentations that were really terrific. Again, Christy Reyes and Susan Gare, both 2 terrific people. You can just go to these links and listen to their 45-minute presentation with resources, etc. I happen to have the link for these handouts and resources. I couldn't find these, but they might be there. And then again, the link to ChatGPT. So thank you so much for being with us. Any last questions?
I have a question. Anthony, can we post this on the TDLS site for access?
So we don't post any presentations or handouts on the TDLS site. It's up to the presenters to share with their.
Okay, so if you couldn't get it for whatever reason, write to elcivics@casas.org and I'll send you the presentation. And then all the links are linked in the presentation. Okay, so feel free, elcivics@casas.org. Any other questions? Oh. Well, Portia and I thank you so much for being with us today, and I hope it was helpful to you.